Before we start the session, let me first introduce our moderator and distinguished panelists. We are happy to have with us Mr. Megat Mizan Denney, President of Malaysia Thailand Business Council. He is currently holds the position of Chairman of Anakatia Berhad, a healthcare and biotechnology company based in Malaysia. He joined Kenanga Investment Bank Berhad in 1990, rising through the ranks until his last position as the Executive Director of Group Business Development Department in Kenanga Investment Bank Berhad. He holds a Master of Science in Engineering Business Management from University of Warwick, Bachelor of Science in Production Engineering and Management degree from Loughborough University of Technology, United Kingdom. He is the Chairman of Malaysia Thailand Business Council, Board of Governors of Malaysia Institute of Corporate Governance, Board of Trustees of Yayasan Amal Medicare, and also Honorary Advisor to Persatuan Mufakat One Belt, One Road, Malaysia. The first panelist is from our neighboring country, Thailand, Mr. Nopawat Mahadthai, Department Manager of CPO PLC. He has professional experience in the areas of soft drink merchandise and import-export. He holds Master Science in Marketing and International Management from Henley Business School, University of Reading, UK, and Business Science in Information Communication and Technology from Mahidol University. Our second panelist is Mr. William Woon, who is the Business Development Executive at Yinwee Trading. Mr. Woon has been at the forefront of their business development initiatives, driving the organization beyond just importing. Under his initiative, Yinwee Trading is now a dynamic entity handling diverse operations that encompass strategic business planning, go-to-market strategic planning, supply chain management, thorough legal compliance, and robust sales effort in both the retail and HoReCa sectors across Australia. This holistic approach has made them a trusted partner for many Australian businesses. Last but not least, our third panelist is Mr. Kairul Azman bin Muhammad Yusoh, International Business Director of Marrybrown Berhad. He has over 20 years experience within the company from operation, training, and franchise divisions. He is the main committee member of Malaysia Franchise Association and chairman of Promotion and Public Relations Committee for MFA. Mr. Kairul holds a diploma in Hospitality and Culinary Institute in Kelana Jaya and professional certificate in Customer Service and Renong Service and Safety Institute. Again, do extend a warm welcome to the moderator and all panelists. Without further ado, I now pass the floor back to Mr. Megat Mizan to deep dive into the discussion of export opportunity in Thailand and Australia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Puan Norheza. First of all, Sawadee Kap from anyone from Thailand. I'd like to say hello to Kun Nopawat, Mr. Woon, and Tuan Kairul. Today, we're going to talk about two very interesting countries. Plus, we have someone who is moving into one country, that is Kairul. He will tell you as we go on what his intentions are. But what's interesting is that these two countries are powerhouse in the halal industry. Australia by itself has over 2.6 billion US dollars of trade in 2022 alone, second only to Brazil in terms of meat production. Thailand itself, it has much more bigger statistics. It's 16th in the overall food production, 5th in terms of food supply, 1 in terms of food process. That's an amazing achievement for Thailand. And you will find, as time goes by, that there are secret tips. But you need to ask certain questions that you can get and say, what is your secret recipe, or how you source, and all that. We will bring this topic up as time goes by. But without further ado, the way I'm going to propose is this, that there will be some presentations. There will also be opportunities for you to ask questions. And if you also are very interested in how to do business and whatever it is, please don't hesitate. We have the platform to provide you any inquiries too. I will first start on my left, Kun Nopawat, and I would like to start off with just a simple overview of the halal industry in their country vis-a-vis their business. On that note, Kun Nopawat, I pass you over.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and this is probably the first time for us to join this the biggest event, so I have to thank you, my trades, for inviting us for this event. And for these sessions, I will introduce a little bit of Citizen Thailand background so you can know us better. So please, the slide. So as you know that Citizen Thailand is owned by the CPO, a subsidiary under the CP Group, and it was set up in 1989 with the 7 stores at first. And when the time passed by, the number of stores had gradually increased each year. And in the year 2017, there was a big celebrations that we anniversary of the 10,000 stores. But our mission has not yet to complete. There's still room to, we set a new target that we're gonna be like a 20,000 store in the future. And I think with 700 new store opening each year, and it is expected to meet the new target within the next 8 years. And you know what, but anyway, the expanding the number of store is not a critical factor that helping us to gain the revenue effectively. And you know what, the more new store, the more expense that we have to cover. We have learned this dilemma during the year 2020 to 2021. I'm sure everyone knows that what happened in these 2 years. Of course, that the COVID gave us a lesson. And the COVID pandemic that we never thought that one day that the traffic of 7-Eleven would be gone, and also that there was no tourists at all at that time. So it's quite bad for us as a convenience because Thailand depends revenue mostly from the tourism sectors. And also that the crisis has significantly changed consumer behavior in Thailand. It's disrupted the offline transactions and accelerated online transactions. So not only the consumer, but also the retailers, they all have to adapt themselves. So in these 2 years, we introduced 2 new online business, namely the 7 Delivery and All Online. And the differences between these two is the service time and the places where the products would be picked up. For the first one, that the 7 Delivery, we is set to deliver within 45 minutes, and the products, let's say by leveraging our staff to pick up the product at the store stock, and then deliver to the consumer destinations by whether walking or riding. And on the other hand, for the all online business, is set to deliver by next day via the DC vehicles. And the place where I pick up the products is at DC. And so that is quite an opportunity for something like the niche products, long tail products, or the bulky products that are available in this channel, because we try to be like a supermarket or department store, but because of limitation of the store stock, we have the large capacity at DC, so can deliver to the destinations. So, and the crisis. And that just give you some idea what we are selling in Citizen Thailand. We have 5 main categories now. Start with the first one is the fresh ready-to-eat food and cultured drinks, including the meal, like a chill meal or frozen meal. And so we have like a daily food like a sausage, ham, cultured drink like a gulp, slurpee, and like all cafe fresh brew coffee. And we have like dim sum, salapao, bakery stuff, and pasteurized milk. And also we have a processed food, including like grocery like fish sauce, rice, sugar, salt, and seasonings, and etc. And we have like snacks and confectionery and chocolate. And the third one is a packaged beverage and ice cream, including like the alcohol like wine, whiskey, beer, and white spirit. We have like drinking water, and soft drink like ready-to-drink coffee, carbonated soft drink, energy, tea, fruit juice, chicken essence, bird nest, and followed by ice cream and UHT milk. And the fourth that is a non-food, like the grocery, personal care, like beauty products and cosmetic, and also we have a household product, paper and like Pampers, detergents, some kind of that, and also followed by this cigarette. And what's the opportunity in Thailand now? And currently, I believe that it's around 4 million Muslim population in Thailand, increased by 25% from the last 10 years. And sorry, okay, never mind. Okay. And this increase deflect the positive figures to us because last year we have a number of the halal logos, around 3,900 SKUs, increased by 13% year on year. And with the sales figures around 98 billion baht, increased by 20% year on year. Right. So, okay, sorry. So what have we done so far to promote halal products in Thailand? This is from the store in the southern part of Thailand, Mahadthai. We have like the halal corner to facilitate Muslim consumer that help them to find the halal product easily. And I just want to show you that what is the basic requirements that I would ask from you. Of course, it's about ingredient stuff, and this is like important thing as you should know. Starting with the trans fat, now is prohibited in Thailand, so everyone that's gonna propose the product to sell in Thailand must check these ingredients first. And also another ingredient, even if it's not permitted in Thailand now, but it's quite risky, because you may have known that the aspartame may cause a cancer now. But whenever one day, if WHO announce that there is a significant evidence, and our Thai FDA announced officially about it, so all products containing this kind of sweetener have to be cleared out from the stock instantly. So it's like a case when they firstly announced the prohibitions of the trans fat. So just want to warn you about this. And another requirement is that, okay, at least our QA team requires ISO 22000, that is the minimum requirement that they're gonna ask from our QA team. And also want to suggest you that because we are convenience, we prefer the smaller pack size. That is better for us because the smaller pack size, because everyone knows that import products has an RSP higher than our local products, so the smaller pack size can, convince the store to sell the multi-pack effectively. And so we can set to sell on the delivery channel too, so everyone can see this smaller pack size. So this is what I would like to share to you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Nopawat. It's very interesting that he's actually giving you an idea of if you want to ever make a proposal to CP All for your product, these are the references that he's given to you. I think it's important to understand that as we go by, standards are very important. The HACCP standards, I think that was mentioned earlier on, and these are the way to move forward. If you have any other questions with regard to Nopawat's presentation, please do not hesitate to ask. Our system will pick it up, and then we'll try to, those that are similar, we will try to consolidate into one question, and we'll be very happy to assist, because this is why they are here. Because Madrid had made the decision to share their knowledge, and they will share with you how they go about doing things. On this note, Nopawat, we will still visit you back again later. I'm going to ask some more pressing questions to him. But I will now go to Mr. Woon, Mr. William. Sir, if you can just give a rough overview of what you're doing. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Kwee Trading has been an importer and distributor for Malaysian products in Australia. So we distribute across all the Australian states and territories placed there. And ultimately, we now carry over 1,500 unique SKUs, as well as over 80 brands in Australia, servicing not only the retail stores, but also looking at the food service side, quick service restaurants, as well as central kitchens. Ultimately, our product range varies across from processed products such as biscuits, snacks, drinks, all the way to cooking pastes, spices, powders, canned goods. So we have a wide range of products, and ultimately I'm hoping that we will get some questions about the requirements, because Australia is one of those tricky countries in terms of our biosecurity risks and concerns. So I'm happy to answer any of those sort of questions that the audience may have today. Ultimately, I would like to highlight about the halal market in Australia, and it's actually a rapidly growing market in Australia. One of the requirements that we sort of look for is halal, because we are one of the halal experts in Australia for products. Halal is not necessarily just about meat or associated with meat, but it's also about processing as well, you know. So I think ultimately, you know, halal gives us certification. It gives confidence to people. And so ultimately, you know, Malaysia is one of the world's leaders in halal production. And I think it presents a lot of opportunity for Malaysian manufacturers and exporters. I think that's a little bit from me. I'll pass it back.
Thank you, William. He has a huge inventory that he has sourced. I think Malaysia was initially the first place he sourced, but it's basically he's sourcing from the region also. And then I think this is something which you really need to know. If you can get into the Australian market, and if you're going to ask any questions of how to shorten the learning curve, this is the gentleman that will tell you how you should, what is the fastest you could do. So again, if you got questions or anything, note it down, put it down, and that's when we start to have fun with him. Yeah, William? Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to pass it to someone who I knew long time ago, and where I managed to persuade him to come and help set up Marrybrown in Thailand. And I've seen how he operates, and I'm so impressed. In fact, every time I see him operate, I feel so slow, because he is very fast, you know, very on the dot. And I'll pass it on to you, and when we will go one more round after. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tuan Megat. Assalamualaikum. Very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Kairul. I'm the business director for Marrybrown. I have a very short experience in my company. I've been 20 over years in Marrybrown. Okay, so very little experience. A little bit quick short about Marrybrown. I don't know where is the. So the reason why, actually, thanks. I just maybe need less than 2 or 3 minutes. Is it okay? I was sitting with someone, there's a lady there, you know, she's sitting next to me, and after that we chit-chat the whole thing, and then we're talking about my companies and all these things. So there's one sentence that I mentioned that actually Marrybrown is Malaysian-owned company. It's from Malaysia, it's our local brand. Then she said, oh really, I do not know that. So my job is every time when I have this opportunity is to do a little bit on branding, okay? Marrybrown is from Malaysia, with the Malaysia brand. Okay, we've been in the company, in this industry for 42 years, 1981. I have to thank Marrybrown actually very much because since we become a member for more than 20 over years, Marrybrown, we started from the SMEs, and then we've been benefited a lot of like MDG, so on and so forth, for us to expand our brand overseas. And also we're talking about that, Marrybrown have been helping us a lot in terms of, to vet through who's are the investors on, because unlike these two gentlemen from retailer and, a buyer and exporters, pretty much actually Marrybrown, we don't have any product. We don't manufacture any single products, right? Because we are actually providing a service. So if you know that Marrybrown, we had this service cluster. So franchising is a part of the service cluster. So we export our service by how? By giving a right of that particular countries using a franchise license or franchising to use our trademark logo, our expert, our business format, our marketing, our proprietary products, many things, right? Within a certain period. So this is the way that how we expand our brand. Okay, right now I can say that we are currently in, we have 500 over stores in total. Still small numbers compared to those big boys, but we are growing. We are currently in 16 countries. All right, so with more than 12,000 employees, I'm managing 200 franchises from Malaysia and across 16 countries. So a different way of how we're doing business, in different countries and all those things. So pretty much, if you give me a chance, I would like to share later on how basically. So what I'm going to say here, I'm pretty much sure that right in front of me there's exporters. So just to let you know that whenever Marrybrown open or we bring our brand established in a foreign country, for example, we just opened in Australia in month of May. He haven't visited my store yet, so I'll make sure that he's going to visit my store soon. So we not only bring the system, the Malaysia, the recipe, the trademark and everything, but we also bring our appointed supplier or the proprietary products, our special recipes from our suppliers to export, to bring it together with us to an overseas. So we've been dealing with many, actually a small SME company from Malaysia who are they produce a special sauce and all this thing. Because in Marrybrown, our menus is what do you call it? We emphasize on the local delicacies. So this is part of how we brand position our place, our brand in overseas. Because otherwise people will say that if you want to go to Australia, if you're just another fast food brand, say, oh, what's the big deal? Just another fast food enter our country, right? So we have to be something different. So our positioning is, of course, halal fast food in the country. And then also we're talking about how we bring a local delicacies. We are Malaysian, we have a very unique taste, good menus, good products, and all those things. So we put that in our restaurants, all right, to share with those countries where we open. So this is a part of our strategy, actually, that how we bring it. So I can say that actually Marrybrown is a part of the platform to bring suppliers, ingredients, or the machine, the expertise, everything, the software providers and all these things for us to help and assist our business to penetrate in overseas. Yeah, so that's a quick introduction of ourselves. Back to you.
Actually, there's something very interesting about Marrybrown, right? And it's not that the fact that they create recipes that is halal and all that, but the vibe is about cleanliness, that you have a comfort level when you go into their shop, and that is that part that gives me comfort. And I've always find it very happy to see whenever I see Marrybrown anywhere. Sorry, I found one Marrybrown on the way from when fishing, and I saw Marrybrown just off Kuala Selangor. And I shouted to my wife, oh, Marrybrown, I'm so proud because this is our homegrown product. And I'm quite sure that if ever any of you have any ideas of how to franchise, not only Tuan Kairul is the leading internet, he's probably the expert, but you never know because he's also as a senior council member on the Nation Franchise Association, that this is a chance to learn from him. Maybe you may want to come up with a product that can be internationalized. There's no harm in dreaming about creating added value designs, formulas, recipes. On that note, now I'm going to go to another level. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper now into an area where segmentation, how do they differentiate between what is their priority, what is their market driven? Do they analyze the demand? Are they looking at more towards, in your case, Nopawat, that drinks are now more, they want to see more halal drinks or whatever it is. This market segmentation, this positioning, their strategy. Now I would like to dive a little bit deeper, sir.
So what about I show you that the market size of the products with the halal logo in dimensions. Let's just give you some clue about this. It's quite confidential, but I'll show you just for this case. For the number I showed you that the first, I think the largest portions is about a packaged beverage. That's quite, because also, because most of the beverage company in Thailand, they whenever they produce the products, they put halal logo on it because they think about the importance of the southern part of Thailand too. But in the second largest is processed food. It's good as snack and something like that, because it's a processed food, like a snack, and everyone can consume it. It's not specific just for the halal Muslim people, or everyone can even if the Buddhism people can enjoy the taste of the snack, right? Because this is it's quite easy to tap in. But the thing that is quite something that we focus on, that is about the ready-to-eat food. It's quite the lowest portion, but because of maybe of the sensitive of the fresh foods, it is quite, as you know, that for some our CP, the meal that produced to us, that is produced by the CP Ram company, and mostly that the Thai people, they consume pork as like a main meat, right? So it's like quite hard that we find a halal meal right now. But anyway, but in the future, with our servant executives, they focus on how to serve better for the halal people, especially in the southern part of Thailand. How we can provide like a time frame, like in each occasion. Like for example, whenever they walk into the 7-Eleven store, okay, they can buy the halal breakfast. Whenever they go into the lunchtime, okay, they can find the right halal that they want to. That's we try to tap in all the occasions, right? Also the dinner, that is we try to be like a destination right now. Okay.
Thank you. So really, packed drinks is your number one seller?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And I'm for one, I enjoy my drink, but my wife has restricted me on sugar. So, but what was interesting was that aspartame is now being considered a risky additive, right? So this is interesting because as those products are being shifted out, more natural products with natural sugars and natural preservatives and no trans fat is going to be interesting for the processed food side. But I'm just curious about, you mentioned earlier on about, because I've seen CP food in Malaysia, from the refrigerator you get nasi lemak and then you put into the microwave. And then I was surprised, and it just, to me, this is innovation. Yeah, and apparently it's quite tasty. But this was in Nottingham University in Semenyih when I saw CP brand in a cooler. And so this is something which I think, in a way, it is a move like what Kun Nopawat was saying, that even for dinner, they may have a market for dinner. I, for one, am very fond of sausages, halal sausages. You know, the one that you have the grill. So these are little snacks that we take for granted, but that's food that we expect to have quality and all that. So I take note that, Nopawat, that your number one is your packed beverage, and then your processed food, and then hopefully once CP Gram has innovated a new line, that we may have very interesting ingredients coming online using microwave and for prepared food. William, Yours is interesting, William, because you have a humongous range of products. Can you tell us a little bit of story of how the products that you move the most, and also how you work with your customers and clients in terms of sourcing, and maybe give them an idea of how things done? Thank you, sir.
So ultimately, right, Australia is one of those developed countries, and time is of the essence. If we have a look at many of the other countries, such as Singapore, or we look at Europe, or if we look at the US, what we want is looking for convenience, time-saving initiatives. So nowadays there is a move for ready-to-eat meals that are healthy. That's what people are sort of looking for at the moment. But for us, the traditional model is still a very valid model as well. So many of the items such as biscuits, instant noodles, those are also very popular products as well in the Australian market because of the convenience it provides to people. You can have, you know, sort of a meal ready to go in, let's say, 5 minutes or so. And that is what people look for. People are pressed with time. And I think that's sort of one of the things Australia has with an issue. And particularly if with Australia's labour costs being quite high, convenience of products at an affordable cost is crucial because it allows them to eat and budget more efficiently. Whereas compared to going out to a restaurant, you know. And unfortunately, Australia is not able to have that sort of culture like Malaysia where we can always go out to mamak stores and eat. That is one thing that Australia is unable to sort of have, or does not have the luxury of. So that is the direction we're going for. And nevertheless, the traditional things such as snacks, biscuits, instant noodles is always going to be a very popular thing in Australia. Okay.
You mentioned ready-made food. Are you saying about frozen food?
Yes, so ready-to-eat meals, right, there is a diverse range. It can be frozen, and it also can be, with nowadays retort technology, you're able to make meals that are shelf-stable, capable of lasting 2 years. So these are things that previously was unavailable, is now made available to consumers. And it really makes it very easy for people who are going to work to have something like a retorted, ready-to-eat meal where they can essentially just pour out to eat or heat up in the microwave, because in Australia, microwaves are everywhere. In every single office, in, you know, even in 7-Elevens in Australia, there's microwaves everywhere. So there is a convenience side on that. Even with the Australian universities or libraries and everything, there's always going to be something like that available.
In your halal portfolio, in the overall trade, your product range, how many of it falls under halal?
I would say pretty much, because we source a lot from Malaysia, I would say at least 95% is halal. Wow. Because in Malaysia, one of the markets is to get halal accreditation. And so for us, when we go to Middle Eastern stores, or whenever we go to stores that are having a kosher or a halal requirement, we're able to service that, you know. And I think that's, you know, it gives confidence to people, to be honest.
This is interesting. So what you're saying is that shops that emphasize on the community, say in the kosher side, that there is demand for halal.
Correct, that's right. Because kosher, in terms of accreditation as well as availability, it's not as available in Australia. the market is not big enough to sort of encompass that. So what is the second best option, which is halal? And halal with Malaysia, there's so many Malaysian producers, it opens a really wide or diverse range of products to people who have kosher requirements. So I think in Australia, it's really not hard to find halal products, you know. So that's why Australia is sort of a destination for Malaysians, you know, in terms of migration and everything as well. Mm.
Thank you, William. I think this is a very interesting point, that shops that traditionally cater towards the kosher market also sees halal as an important source, as an alternative to kosher foods. And I think this is an eye-opener for us to understand that that people do look out for halal food as alternative to their own dietary needs. Or probably one day in our halal certification side, that for whatever reason we do a testing to say that there's no animal DNA in this product, and therefore we are confident that this is conforming to halal. That even could be used to say that this also will conform to vegetarians per se. So this is a potential for us to, because we put a lot of technology in detecting whether there's animal DNA. And this is something which I picked up from University of Chulalongkorn in Bangkok, that they actually have a means to test whether you contain any animal DNA. And so that way, if you don't have any animal DNA, it's all plant-based, it is halal as far as they are concerned. So this is the food processing element, not from the slaughtering of animals, but from the food processing. So that's something very, very interesting. I'm going to deep dive later on Mr. Woon's comment, because I think Australia is doing something very, very interesting, and we'll talk about that later on. Say, Kairul, you know, the first time I met Kairul, when he explained to me about the strategy of how to create from farm to fork, to put your service, put everything, make it easy for people to operate their franchise. But there is a secret strategy, right? He doesn't pull them out of Kuala Lumpur. He has something that he does every country he goes to. And I will now ask Kairul to just give you a little bit of how he rolls things out as an example, sir.
All right. This is very interesting. I think it's applied not only for franchise, but it also applies for new exporters. If you want to venture into new countries, the most important, you need to have your vision, your mission of your companies, of course, right? And which direction? World is big, you know, so many countries, you know. So if you are new, so you might think that, oh, this product is suitable from which region. And to understand more about, of course, you need to know the size and all this thing, whether, you know, you are how much that you can produce your products to export to a certain region and all these things. So goes back to Marrybrown. So whenever we already draw the line, you know, which are the target region that we want to go, or where are the places that we want to enter. So of course, knowing that we are actually need to establish our trademark logos, you know, because we are dealing with, we're going to develop many stores in that particular country, and we need to secure the right for at least for 15 years. You know, so you need to be safe. You know, your logo, your trademark, your all corporate identity has to be secured first. And with that note, also you have to understand in this world, Malaysia, we are so grateful because we have a franchise law. We have franchise act here to protect both side franchise owner and franchisees. But unlike for international countries, other countries, I can say that in the entire world, there are only about 8 countries which they have franchise act, and Australia one of it. So I'm pretty much tough time for me to enter the country because, you know, the agreement is much more thicker than compared to the Malaysia one, and, you know, so there's a lot of things. And just to settle down on this franchise thing, you know, to get the rights, it took us about almost 3 months for me. from my lawyer side to an Australian lawyer side to talk, just to make sure the understanding there. So we have to establish the right first, all right, to make sure that your logos are being secured for 15 years for that particular franchisee. And the second part, we're talking about whenever you want to go to any country, all right, definitely you need to do a lot of market studies, pre-market entry, and so on and so forth. So of course for us, I'm being paid good, to whenever country that I want to go, I have to visit all the restaurant, I eat a lot, I have to try, because different country, different way of how they consume things, and then that we are fast food category, so our target market is a mass market, all right? So we want to know, example, just give you an example. In Malaysia, I'm pretty much sure all of our guests here today, when you go to any fast food, if you eat chicken, I don't want to mention the brand name, definitely they have a 2-piece chicken there, some salad, some bread there, right? So this is pretty much common for us. But if you go to another country, like for example, like our neighbor, third world countries, so on and so forth, because the chicken cost is so high, all right? So what they can do is actually we have to rebundle our menus, like instead of 2-piece, become 1-piece, but we add more rice. That's a staple food, right? So that's the reason why if you visit our neighbor country like Indonesia, you can see that you go to any fast food brand, you will see similar menu, which is 1-piece chicken and 1 plain white rice. That's the staple food, right? So pre-market entry study is very much important because we need to understand more on what is the pocket size, what is the the target group, which other area that you can conquer on the trading area, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of process. It's not open 24 hours or overnight kind of thing. Those decisions before we enter the market. The second part, we need to know who is our investor. I can tell you that actually almost every day I receive application in different part of the world. All right. So with this note, I think again I need to mention I really thanks to Martrade because they are always my reference whenever I need the help. So, can you please vet through this company whether they are established in that country and so on and so forth. This is very important for you to know that. So because for us we need to merge and marry with the right potential investors for us to grow together for the next 15 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot there because I think this is not just knowing your target market or your expansion area, but it's also realizing that there are other available resources. And in this case, like Martrade, that was able to do a due diligence background, that itself can be a whole difficult exercise. In a country you may not know what it's all about. But there is a barrier of entry in terms of the due processes that needs to be completed. But again, this is growing pains. This is why you want to grow from where you are here to, say, your neighbor in Singapore or Thailand or Indonesia or Brunei, for that matter. Or likewise, Brunei wants to come to Malaysia or Singapore wants to come to Malaysia. These are very basic. You need to know where your target market. Obviously, being a halal company, I'm quite sure all 16 of your locations have high population of Muslims in your, So this ties in with the fact that Marrybrown, though not many people realize it, is a halal fast food company. And that is, and you cannot, from the branding, you don't see it, but they are. And people know this. Because that's what they want. They want to build that value. They want to have that experience of a fast food that, what I would say, a la Western fast food. But we cater to this new expectations of people who are taking up their offers. And take note of the fact that sometimes, and I will ask him later on his strategy of sourcing, because now we know he cut down from 3 chicken to 1 chicken and a bit more rice. So now I'm going to press him a little bit more. Tell me what your secret is. So I would do it on your behalf to try and take it out of him, because this is the knowledge he got. 20 years, every kind of law. If I was to be very frank with you, I suspect Australia is his crowning learning experience, because doing business in Australia is a high standard requirement, literally. Work-wise, contractual-wise, everything. By the way, take note, why his emphasis on branding is this. In Malaysia, I won't mention the name of a fast food company, but in Malaysia it was a court case clearly indicated on the royalty of brand, technically it's tax-free, okay, if you're based in Malaysia. But now, because our tax code for remittance of foreign income, there is a kind of a blanket tax charge on remittance. But that is a good problem, not a bad problem. I'm just saying to you, previously, your logo not only is key to your identity, but trust me, if you don't do this, there will be Marrybrown suddenly appear from nowhere. Yeah, and all the effort gone. I have to tell you, I met some, this is just a separate issue, that a Chinese government-linked company, it's actually a petroleum company. They distribute oil in one part, one province. They themselves gonna copycat by another Chinese company, almost the same logo, almost everything. And to their horror, they thought, why would someone copy my image, my logo and everything? Because you didn't bother to protect it. Then you ask for trouble. So there is a lesson here. Even when you choose the brand for your food, your packaging, or whatever it is, do manage your brand, right? Jaga, make sure that that brand is yours. Even if it's your name on it, brand it correctly, protect your value. On that note, I will now dive deeper into Kun Nopawat's secret recipe of how he wants to move forward in the region. And I'm also going to ask a little bit of anything in the future that he is keen to explore. And from that point of view, Kun Nopawat, what you see in the future, I mean, obviously, remember, he's targeting 20,000 shops in the near future, all right? So he's got an agenda. He needs to expand. He needs to have the best product, the fast-moving items that can give him that return. So we now know he's projecting forward. Now I want to know what you want, what you see in the halal aspect, improvements, anything. Don't worry if it's not food related or whatever it is, because you may have cosmetics or whatever. Because I tried to disturb him because they are technically all on food, all right? But I'm being a bit naughty here. I'm going to say, I know people laugh, don't laugh, all right? I did pitch to them about halal pet food, right? Why I say halal pet food? Not because of halal, not sembelih daging tu. It is the toyiban, the cleanliness, that we don't need to samak every time. We are not sure whether there's pork gelatin based into the wet food. We don't know. It's their business. You know, I mean, this is what I post. But I did promise them I will not disturb them because they want to focus mainly on human food. So on that note, anything of your even cosmetics also, you see there's something rising. What is your view of halal and what you want to happen or in the future, sir?
So as you talk about the pet food right now. Okay. Basically, recently, I have to say that 7-Eleven Thailand, yes, we start to focus on pet food already, right? We don't think like we are convenience anymore. The new store that we open this year is like a standalone format, so it can provide something like a supermarket format products, something like that, multi-packs, something like that. So the pet food is like I'm sure it's quite is a destinations of a pet lover. If they think about the pet food, they go to the supermarket, they go to the department store, something like that. So yes, right now we have the corner of the pet food, yeah. But about the halal, I'm sure that mostly that even if now we focus mostly on the food now, but it's quite the pet food is in the rising trend in Thailand too. So if maybe you have like a chance to put a look, maybe if we can import some pet food with halal logo or something like that. It's maybe like a capture that's in the future trend that is coming, right? And so what I foresee is not just about halal, because we think that halal product is a supplement to what we are selling. We want to sell to the whole country. We want to, for example, the snack. If you put a halal logo, that is, I think this is like something that we can focus on the destination of Muslim populations. But so just like that, we focus like a mass products right now. Essentially, that have to be something like no pork at all, something like that. And also that there is a trend of, I think it's about ESG in the future, that we focus that. So if the halal products that want to help us to, we have less, as you know, that CPO is one part of the DJSI, the Joint Sustainable Index. We have a KPI that we have to provide a healthy product to the society. We want to promote the consumer health. Like we want something like no sugar, low fat, and like something that like help them to have a good health. So this is like our commitment in the future too. Right.
Do you have, for example, cosmetics that are already halal?
The figures I shown you is based on the products that have halal logo.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay.
So the cosmetic is something that we are interested into, right? But I cannot track.
All right. I understood. So really, in a way, because they have cosmetics in 7-Eleven, the idea, for example, what kind of oil wax that you use for lipstick, lotion, and all this. This is something which maybe can be of an interest to the market. You see, where Nopawat was alluding to earlier on when he showed the picture of the halal corner, that is in southern Thailand. So maybe this is somewhere, if there's a cross-border opportunities to see, okay, how can we populate more products into southern Thailand and all that. And that might be the way to look forward to all the entrepreneurs that are out here. Because I believe that the first person who will give us the assurance that whatever's inside this lipstick or whatever's inside this oil lotion, it is of pure origin, plant origin, and there is no animal product that can compromise of the quality. So this maybe this is something in the future, Nopawat, that when people make proposals to you, that you may consider, sir. Yeah. William, I know William is pure food. Okay, so I will not disturb him with pet food. So, Mr. William, Mr. Woon, Australia is humongous. It's huge. I am just curious because I do medical products. I just cannot even think of how to distribute it in Negeri Kelantan. Just Kelantan alone, it just boggles me down. How do I bring to Jeli? How do I bring to places that Dabong, and it's a logistic nightmare, right? Kita ada produk, tapi nak bawa produk, bring it to the customer base. To bring that to the customer base is easier said than done. I think there is a special experience that Mr. Woon's company had developed across the years on how to distribute the corners of Australia. I'm sure you supply Darwin, right? That's one corner already. Perth is like a whole different country. Somewhere the people from Perth, I think, don't know what the right-hand side is doing. By the way, just to tell you, the founder, the son of Francis Light, was the founder of Adelaide. He was born in that time in Penang, and that's how Adelaide was. So our link to Australia is much stronger. There is a very strong Malay community also in Darwin. There is a link. And I think the fact that logistics, now we talk about halal, but we never really talk about how do I bring, say, my rempah. I'm coming out with a halal rempah. Maybe I have frozen cube fresh rendang frozen sauce that can be melted down instantly, sauteed with beef, and then I have my instant punya rendang and nasi. So, Mr. Woon, can you tell us a little bit of how you operate in Australia, the corners that you go? Tell me your smallest little slot that you had to figure out how to do business in, and just give us a feel of the size of Australia, sir.
Australia, in terms of landmass, you know, is humongous, to be honest, you know. So this is where we sort of come in, because even though we manage the import sort of side, but we also have to manage the distribution side. And Australia is such a big country, we really need to have a strong distribution network and learn how to manage and go from, get our products from point A all the way to point B in the most cost-effective way as possible. Because when we talk about pharmaceutical products and everything like that, the way that they do distribution model is a little bit different to how we do distribution in F&B. F&B, the margin is not as high where we can do these sort of high costs of distribution. You know, with F&B, you need to try to make the cost of distribution as low as possible. And that is sort of something that we are committed at doing, because we want to make food to be accessible. We want to address the issues of food security, because nevertheless in Australia, we still have these sort of issues happen, because we experience it. We know as we donate a lot of product to food banks in Australia. So we know that this issue is still there. In terms of how we do the logistics and everything like that, Australia is very competitive in terms of logistics. There are many, many companies that are doing the shipping and doing the transit between point A to point B. The question is that when you're shipping only one item or only a pack of sambal, the cost of shipping is very high. Where we come in is where we bring in the economies of scale. You know, whenever you scale things up, you can push the cost of the shipping from, you know, on a per unit basis where it was a couple of dollars, all the way down to cents. It's the same thing as when we are doing containers around the world, you know. Before, you can use air freight to ship small quantities of goods, but is that, you know, a way to do things, to move things around when you want to push the cost down? You know, you would use containers, you can go from 20 footers to 40 footers to 40 footer high cubes, you know, to try and reduce the cost. So with Australia, there's a big trucking industry as well that I'd like to highlight. So getting products from, let's say you think that from Melbourne to Sydney, it seems like a big distance. How can things go from Melbourne to Sydney, which is about, you know, 800 kilometers away? To get things over there, because of how competitive and how things move across the country, it takes only 1 day, 2 days to get something up from Melbourne to Sydney. To get to Queensland, for example, another extra day, 3 days. You know, so in Australia, logistics is, things are always moving around the country. In Australia, there's a saying, without trucks, Australia stops, you know. Things are always moving around in the country, whether or not if it's via rail or if it's via the trucks, you know. You would see these trucks carry about, you know, over 20 or so pallets of products on a daily basis between all the major cities. Australian has, you know, only a couple major cities, you know. So things are always moving across those sort of cities. As you know, it's sort of where a lot of businesses are located on the East Coast. A lot of things need to get moved to remote areas in Australia. So places where there are central small city towns in Australia, there are always going to be trucks that are servicing that. Because how are people going to be living there, you know, if there is nothing going to those sort of towns and cities? I think that's one of the crucial things we can, you know, understand.
I have to disturb you now. I'm just curious. The only town that I know from my geography, right bang in the middle of Australia, is called Alice Springs. Have you ever delivered anything to Alice Springs?
Yeah, there is. So if we have a look at Alice Springs, there are retail shops in Alice Springs that we service. And then, of course, you know, it's a very small town, and to be honest, not many people live there. It's also a tourist hotspot because a lot of people like to go and visit there, you know, to see the Uluru in a sense. So, you know, we do things that go to there. But of course, it's about time, you know. So to get to Darwin or to get to the Northern Territories, you're looking at about, you know, 5 days or to a week, just depending on the frequency, you know. So it's Australia, you know, you don't, as long as there is someone that is looking for something, you know, things can get there. And I think it just depends on whether or not if the company has the expertise on doing that, you know, and whether or not they partner with the right companies in doing the logistics and doing the distribution, you know. And I think that's one of the crucial things for exporters or Malaysian manufacturers, is finding a credible or trusted partner. And I think it's the same as with Marrybrown as well. You know, whenever they're looking for an investor, or whenever they're, you know, someone is approaching them, they're asking. Everyone's question is always asking, are they a credible supplier? Are they in the industry? Can they do what we want to achieve?
Thank you, Mr. Woon. There's a clue there. The clue is that your East Coast is where the main activities occur. So if you ever do want to send any of your products to Australia, East Coast, then you worry about Perth, maybe Perth because a lot of Malaysians there. But then you have Darwin and all this. But there is a clue, and I realized it because I didn't realize truck columns on certain highways can be as long as 100 feet long. Trucks, it's just one long truck. And apparently it's quite common in Australia. You know, is it a train truck? They call it a train truck.
We call it B-doubles. So,
wow.
Yeah, so essentially it would have attachments across to it. So we would have the truck itself and then essentially another trailer as well. So it sort of depends on whether or not if you have a contract with the logistic companies and if you can achieve the volume targets, you know, to try bring.
I think Malaysia is the only place we don't have double trailers. But I think Thailand has double trailers. Because the first time I met a double trailer on a road and I don't know how to overtake it. It's so long, you know. So yeah, luckily in Australia some roads are straight, so it's not a problem. But you know, so anyway, thank you, Woon, for that. I think always remember that in theory we may have a product, but sometimes they will, if they know you have a certain product, somebody, like you say, if there's somebody who wants it and it's the correct amount, they will definitely call you and say, hey, you interested to send this based on this MQA or whatever, and then MOQ, sorry. And then they will, that's business, all right? So logistics, I mean, Australia is just one good example. India is another good example. China is another good, it's huge, huge, huge. Choose your partners right. Find people who see value in your product line. And I think, God willing, inshallah, things will happen. Business will take off. It starts small, and it always starts small, but once it starts growing, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And when I appreciate the fact that most of the products they have on inventories are from Malaysia, and 90+% of it's all halal. It just shows you that there's an element of branding. And to me, one of the biggest brands that I see is also from Thailand, the halal brand from Thailand and the halal brand from Malaysia. So this is something to be proud of, that these are now beginning to be populating, not just in our region, also in corners of Africa. This is all about marketing now. So I'm now going to go to Cik Kairul. I really need to know more of his secret recipes. I really need to know, what does he do? How does he move? Because he already mentioned to you, he is in the service line to make sure that everything that we design, food-wise, supply side, and everything. Now, how does he go about choosing his suppliers? And what is his approach towards setting up, say, in India, or setting up, say, or his experience in Australia or Thailand? Sir.
All right, this is a very interesting part. Okay, when we're talking about for franchise brand, actually we are facing many challenges. Okay, because it depends on how you want to enter the countries. Okay, let's talk about the untapped market. So I do have experience in when I'm setting up our first store in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, East Africa, 10 years ago. Assuming like it's something like when you are like, if you're Malaysia like 50 years back. Okay, everything is like a bit slow there. Everything's not ready. So when you enter this country, untapped country, you have to reformat back the way that how you want to enter to the countries. Just imagine that there's zero supply available in the country. It has to be everything export from Malaysia, and we have to set up a central kitchen there. Bear in mind, actually, Marrybrown, we don't depend or reliable on skilled chef in our stores. You know, if we skill chef, we can't expand it as fast as what we did now. So we are reliable on the SOPs, a very simple methodologies in how we transfer know-how to the local staff there, with a certain short period for us to transfer the know-how. So we don't rely on this part. So when we enter this country, so what we do, we have to come up with different approach, like setting up the central kitchen. We have to engage with the proper professional chef, because there's no bun supplier over there. There is no chicken processed meat over there. There is no, everything we have to start from the scratch. So with that, we set up our central kitchens and we distribute to all our stores across Dar es Salaam city. I'm talking about Africa. But when God bless, when we enter a country like Australia, everything like, you know, because you have to know that if you want to penetrate the world, you have to ready your infrastructure, your team, your organizations, you know. So this is going to be expedite your process, the entire process. So what we do, okay, first of all, we need to establish our connection with all the appointed suppliers. Basically, there are certain international supply chain that we rely on. Can I mention the brand? Is it okay or no? Can, right? Okay. Yeah, I need to ask first. Okay, example now for beverage, we are currently working with Coca-Cola International. So we signed the contract with Atlanta, the headquarters, to service us throughout the whole 17 countries. All right, so whenever we want to open, so they will link us to whoever the agent or the service distributor in that particular country, and we set up the whole thing. All right, so we have to work with all the international players. But bear in mind, because we also have a certain product which are locally made, like our sambal, nasi lemak, you know, our mee curry sauce. Can you imagine we serve mee curry in overseas? We serve mee curry in Sweden, Stockholm. We serve nasi lemak in different regions in China and all this thing. So everything has to come to Malaysia. Come on, nobody can do as good as our sambal. You know? It has to be from Malaysia. So with that, we need to also, you know, this is the economy of scale, like what you say. You know, we have to, when we open a brand overseas, we need to nourish their local economy by engaging with the local supply. Raw material. I cannot bring chicken all the way from Malaysia. Kita pun tak cukup ayam, you know. So we have to rely on the local halal poultry in that particular country. Same goes in many products and all those things. So we have to make sure that, first of all, you need to have reliable supply chain, okay, that can really assist you to expedite the entire process of your expansions in the country. And at the same time, also, you need to working with the local suppliers. So what we do actually, I meet many suppliers from Australia who they're approaching us, you know, to introduce what kind of line of service they want for us to do that, and a certain product. Because in our menu range for international country, we allow like 20 to 25% to be localized. So we have to rely on the local products, you know, to continue work with us and how we can serve to our customers right away.
Thank you, Kairul. We are now running into the Q&A, but I have to tell you, he had let on some of his secret recipes. It's daging burger, is whether it's in Tanzania, kat Malaysia, kat Japan, it's the same. You just put salt and pepper, the real trick is the sambal, the condiments. This is the secret recipe. This is why that they keep some things close to their chest. And they know the normal items that need to move, they develop close relationship with providers. And they will, I'm quite sure you will assure them a volume that gives them a credible sustainability, and because you want reliability, right? So that's another thing. This is about leadership. It's about trying to develop that brand. He led on process and procedure. That means when you say you have a chef, and then you have what you call quick cooks. The quick cooks are the ones that are trained through a PMP to do it as close as possible to the process and procedure. That itself is I'm quite sure, if you were to see their training manual, that is, it's priceless by itself. And obviously, I will not ask him to show an example, but that takes years to develop, because professional chefs are the ones who did the quick, the training for quick skills. On that note, we have a time for Q&A, quick one. Do we have anyone from the floor curious to? I got a lot more questions. I'm curious because I want to know. Maybe when I go up to my Scotland, I may have one Marrybrown in Scotland. So my family originates up north in UK. So that's why I'm very curious about this. But any question from the floor? I open to the floor for Q&A. Don't be worried, you know. This is we all want to know, you know, how things are happening, and just curious about how, you know, to do your first. Thank you. Oh, she's just changing position. Okay. So I take it there's no questions. Oh, sorry. Moderator has got instruction here. It says, question for online audience. How is the health drink market in Australia for halal products from Malaysia? Mr. Woon.
Okay. In terms of the health drink market in Australia, I think sort of we need to go deeper a little bit in terms of what is it that you're trying to target? Who are you trying to target? You know, we can talk about specific things on, you know, is it that we are looking at in terms of a health drink to go slimmer? Is that what we are trying to do? You know, then we need to look into the market of, okay, where do these sort of people shop at? You know, to try and drill down. You know, I think that's an important thing for just in general for manufacturers and everything like that. To get your target market clear and right, who is it that you want to sell to? You know, because the health drink market can be big. You know, we can be looking at, you know, drinks such as vitamin C. You know, is that considered a health drink? You know, to help boost with immunity. You know, and if it is in that sort of direction, are we going for, you know, the average Australian? And is the average Australian used to drinking vitamin C drinks? Is that their preferred way of consuming vitamin C? Or is it, no, they don't like to consume it via a drink, they like to consume it via supplements. So I think ultimately we need to find out what is it that, who is it that you're targeting? I think that's the most important thing.
Do you do any on your inventory currently, anything that's equivalent to a health drink in your?
In terms of health drinks, we have some, you know, like I've mentioned about vitamin C.
Okay. No worries, no worries. Yeah.
So yeah, it is, these are sort of things where we've seen that there may be a potential in terms of health drink. Bird's Nest is also a health, well, I would consider as a health or beauty drink as well. That is also a market that we've explored and we still sort of develop. So, you know, at the end of the day, who is it that we are going to be targeting? You know?
You mentioned you also export to New Zealand or?
No, we do. So that's another sector of our business. So we help it with consolidation. So we, in terms of buyers around the region or anything like that, they may be looking for Australian-made products. We're able to help with that. You know, we're able to help source, consolidate, and then ship.
So I see. So you take advantage of your own purchasing power, and then also, if possible, help potential other buyers to club the deal, and then to help them source at a better rate.
Yeah, we do that. So that right. is no issue at all. We sort of do these sort of things as well.
You're right.
Correct.
Now, I got another question that says wrap up. so I'm supposed to wrap up now. But I would like to thank all the speakers. If I've accidentally said anything wrong, please forgive me. But I really appreciated the fact that today you've given us an insight on how you do your business, and also sharing some of your secret recipes on how to maneuver and to have a shorter learning curve. On that note, on behalf also of, do I pass to you, Puan Noaliza? Okay, I pass back to our anchor. Thank you very much, gentlemen.